Hello everybody and welcome to the podcast. I'm Wise Oldman and this is Let's Be Honest. Now, when I say let's be honest, it's not me particularly saying I'm right. I'm not that kind of person, but I also may not be wrong. What I am is a disgruntled optimist. I look for the very best in people and the world. However, I expect the worst. Am I confused? Every sodding day is the answer. This is a podcast for normal people, for logical people, and for people with a sense of humour that can laugh at themselves and would rather not see the world burn. Now let's be honest, we, that's you and I, are just temporarily hanging onto one extremely large rock that's floating into nothingness. So occasionally we need to remind one another to be grateful for what we have and just to get the fuck over ourselves. Well, not you, you're cool. I'm talking about the other git. Welcome to Let's Be Honest. Today's episode is called A New Hope. So let's get after it, shall we? So then, it's a brand new year, 2024. Who would have thought we would have come this far? Not me, that's for sure. I felt pretty convinced that we were going to fuck ourselves up by now. Still, it's not been for the lack of trying, has it? Also, before I carry on, I'd like to say one thing. It's not your fault. But I'll come back to what I mean by that later, because it might actually end up being your fault. Now, this is part 1 of 2, the second episode being something a little different, but again, we'll talk about that later. Now, I've called this episode A New Hope for very good reason. I was going to call it Blind Hope, based on the subject matter. I was also going to call it Having Faith, because I have some. Then I pretty quickly realised that I don't have any. Not much anyway, again, certainly regarding what we're going to talk about today. Now, this is certainly one of those episodes when I hope that my hope is right. Not saying it is, of course. However, my hope is a pure hope with no personal agenda and no real indication or evidence that I'm even close to being right. I guess the more cynical and crude amongst us may say that I'm just, pissing against the wind. That's usually me, to be fair, but not today. Still, as the saying goes, we live in hope, do we not? Now, if I'm wrong, I truly believe that we as people are well and truly, once and for all, beyond any shadow of a doubt, fucked beyond repair. And the world as we know it will be finished. Kaput, finito, fertig für immer. Maybe not in my lifetime, but certainly in yours. I'm just assuming that you're younger than me. You're welcome. But hang on, hang the fuckety fuck on. Maybe there is a superhero lurking and waiting to save the world. Maybe there is an incredibly unlikely hero that none of us have ever thought about. Ready just to save the day. I guess it's you, because, what, you're older and wise? No, not at all. I was actually going to say it might be, well, you. Oh, I didn't expect that. You're right, I am awesome. We'll get into if it's you, him, her, or them in a minute. For now, it's January the 8th, 2024. Well, it is if you are listening to this on the day it was released. I think that's mighty hopeful on my part, don't you? So, traditionally, what is it that most of us do at the start of a new year? That's right, we make bullshit resolutions, which we absolutely should, by the way. Fuck, even if you don't follow through, if you know what I mean, at least you had a go. So I, for one, I'm not going to slag you off for having some form of, plan, desire, or even wishful thinking for the year ahead, no matter how delusional or misguided. Christ, I do it every year. I pretend I don't, but I do, because you kind of have to, don't you? You look back on what you have done for the previous year, most of us not being particularly overwhelmed by the results, if we were honest. Then we make resolutions as an act of positivity. And quite right too. See, I even think that's changing, the whole New Year's resolution thing. When I say at least you are having a go, I think a lot these days don't even do that. A lot of people, no names, Gen Z and the new millennials, just expect it to come to them. Am I suggesting a lazy and entitled attitude? Let's see. Yes, I am. But it's not your fault. Maybe certain generations, the younger ones, want people to make the resolution for them, or perhaps do nothing because they just, again, expect things to happen. Then if those things don't happen, it's the blame game time. More on that later as well. I think we would all agree that the point of a resolution is to look forward and to hope. Now, let's face it, that is a great place to start. However, and here's the pisser, but that's when the work starts. Anybody in the world can make a New Year's resolution. Some succeed, but most fail or give up. Fail or give up being possibly the same thing now I think about it. Now with the new generation, firstly, as suggested, I don't think they'll even try. By the way, the people that I'm putting in this category are the Gen Zs, of course, which is what, born between 97 and 2012, and the later millennials, not the early ones, because they're almost like, well, if not 40 now, and they are just as responsible for the world burning as, well, my lot. By the way, to the older millennials listening, how does it feel? 10 years ago, you were on the blame train, but now it's you that's getting it from the Zs. And the Alphas. That's right, those little fuckers born between 2013 and 25, they're coming for you. Cheers. Anyway, like I said, I don't think the younger generations are even attempting to make resolutions. I mean, why put themselves in a position where they fail at something? I don't think that word is even in their vocabulary. Fail. Let's be honest. When was the last time you saw a younger person put their hand up and say, I failed? Exactly. Look, I realise no fucker of any generation does it these days, but let's focus on the younger generation for now. Why? Just because they fuck up in their personal life? It's the other person that had the issues. They arse up their job? Equally, it's not their fault. Probably a lack of opportunities, or they were not given the correct tools to do the job, and so on. Maybe they didn't get, promoted in the first month or receive a badge just for turning up, and now they don't feel valued, or this is just slave labour. Now, I believe that this is why many of them don't think of themselves as failures at anything. I mean, if you don't try, then you can't fail, can you? You can blame, but you can't fail. They also call themselves a person of high value. This appears to be one of the new phrases that they love. And people of a high value are usually accompanied with a very, very high opinion of themselves. From where I'm sitting, it's not really justified either. But hey, it's not your fault. They will then continue to drift and blame other generations and the government for their downfall, suggesting that the generation that came before them have ruined their life. That's their great way of life, by the way. And governments, well, they should just do more. Fuck me, they really do want life gift wrap, don't they? Again, it's all very strange in itself, because for me, you have had to have some form of elevated position or status in the first place to have an actual downfall. Am I right? You're not wrong. Anyway, I think at this point it's very important to say that if you think I'm just going to spend, an episode or two having a pop at the younger generation, then you could not be more wrong. Not today. It is the opposite, in fact, but we can get to that in a while as well. I don't want to suck their dicks just yet. Let's face it, they do enough of that themselves. That's just rude. Shush now. Didn't your daddy ever say don't talk with your mouth full? Oh, ouch. By the way, if I do say nice things about the younger generation today, do not be confused. I haven't had a stroke. I'm not on their side. As I say, the last thing the Zeds and certain Ys need is somebody telling them that they are great. I mean, they could be great, but they're not great. Not yet. It often feels like they are focused so much on blaming and feeling persecuted just to realise the opportunity that they have right now, today, in this moment. Personally, I think this is their time to be really, really great. I know, I just said that. Twice. I think Gen Z could be great. That's 3 times. What the fuck is wrong with me? Maybe I need a drink. I don't really feel myself today. Cheers. It's just, New Year's Eve, be positive and all that kind of stuff. So with that in mind, today, I'm not going to make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to make a prediction. And it's a prediction based on nothing other than hope. Now, some people, well, they believe in themselves, which is completely super. And to a degree, you have to. But that might not save the world. Not this time. Why? Well, because it's not a movie, is it? And the world does need saving, by the way. Well, not the world, but humanity. The world will be just fine. The world is going fucking nowhere. But you, the younger generation, the Zs and the Alphas, oh, you're fucked. You're double fucked, if that's an actual thing. Unless... As I say, some people believe in themselves, some people believe in, one of the 5,000 gods that are knocking about just to get them and us out of the shithouse. How's that going, by the way? I don't think any of them are really doing that well at the moment, are they? None of them are really shining, are they? But my God works in mysterious ways. Doesn't he, though? Or she? Or she. Does kind of make you wonder when some of these gods are really going to come good, doesn't it? Maybe they never do. Maybe that's the big secret. Maybe the gods are the biggest con men ever. Or con women. Or con women. Look, it's a beautiful day and the birds are singing. That's also God making the sun shine, just for you. You do know that, don't you? You're welcome. Why are you saying you're welcome? What part did you play in the sun shining? If my God doesn't come good in this life, I'll be rewarded in the next. Praise be the Lord. Convenient. Now, I'm fully aware I'm going off track a bit here, but I do have a question. In any other area of your life, let's take work as an example. If your boss, who you have never met or seen, says continually, by the way, that if you keep doing this thing, then you will be rewarded. But it never really happens. The rewards don't come. What are you going to do? Do you quit or do you stop believing? You have to believe, and you should always believe. Really? You don't ever get pissed off that the rewards never come? He or she doesn't really give you what you ask? Yes, of course I do, but you have to have faith. The word is that when you're dead, then you will get rewarded. When I'm dead? Who says that? My God does. Right, and you believe him, her? Yes, unwaveringly. Unwaveringly? Okay, so I'm dead. Yes. Let me get this right. So when I'm gone, 2 random people that I don't know will have sex? Yes. Okay, then the 1,000,000 to 1 chance of his sperm hitting the right spot will be me? And I will come back and have to live through this hell for another 80-odd years. And then... what, the same thing keeps happening for eternity? I just keep coming back? Yes. And you don't see any flaws with this? Do I get to choose what I come back as, perhaps? Maybe, yes. Well, that can't work, can it? Hello, God.
Hello, my son. Or daughter.
Whatever.
You are dead.
Yeah, I knew that.
When it's time, what do you want to go back to Earth as? My son.
I get a choice.
Yes, but hurry the fuck up. There's lots of people dying these days. I'm kind of on the clock.
Yeah, fair enough. Was it because that bloke fucked a bat in China?
God no. That was me. We just need to lose a few 100,000 people on Earth. And to be honest, it seemed the best and most efficient way to go about it. Do you think it was too much?
No, it was fine. But why are you sending us back then if you just wanted to get rid of us in the first place?
Look, do you want to go back or not?
Not really. It's kind of shit down there and getting worse, dude.
It's the rules. Shut the fuck up.
Fair enough. I'd like to go back as a millionaire.
It doesn't work that way, and you know it.
Okay, I'd like to be German.
Why would you want to be German?
What, you have an opinion now? Okay, I'd like to be a cat. That's kind of cool, just lays around all day.
It has to be human, you little shit.
So I spend my life on bended knee, believing in you, just in case you exist. Then when I'm dead, you send me back as something I have no control over.
Bang on. Am I right?
Funny. So you could send me back as, I don't know, to a third world country?
Yes.
You could even send me back as French?
Yes.
Fuck that. Dear me, that was so bad. Look, I think that's why superheroes are so popular. We, you and I, have to look to somebody to save the world. I mean, we can't do it, so we rely on something else. Superhero or God, it's all fantasy to a degree, don't you think?
I'm still listening.
Of course you are. Anyway, why can't I believe that Superman will save the world? At least I know what my God looks like. At the end of the day, do all those people really believe in their God? Or is there a huge amount of hope in there? If you say, I hope there is a God, it sounds like you're not really convinced yourself. If you say, I believe, then, well, people are going to sit up and take notice, as in, this person knows something. Maybe they know something I don't. The answer? They don't. According to the God Squad, that's why I can't believe in Superman, because you can see him and you can say, no, that's not real. That's fiction. Whereas I can't say that your God isn't real because I can't see him or her. Doesn't really seem to matter to you that you haven't seen him or her either, does it? You can't prove that there is, and at the end of the day, I can't prove that there isn't. Anybody fancy a pint? Cheers. Now, I do realise it looked like I deviated by a mile there, but you know what? I really didn't, because me, well, I prefer to believe again, or hope in something slightly more down to earth. Not God, not superheroes, but people. At the same time being quite loose with the word believe. What? Do you think it's more realistic to think Thor, Wonder Woman, or your God of choice will save the world? More than people? I mean, people are a bit shit, but at least they're real. People, those strange, intelligent, wonderful beings that wind me the fuck up with their stupidity and selfishness. They are responsible for this world that we live in. Bugger. Now, do I have any facts or academic education to make this crazy prediction of mine? No. None. Fuck all. It's also so ridiculous what I'm about to say that not only have I never heard anybody else suggest this, if I was standing in a room with 1,000 people, 999 would laugh me out of the room. The remaining one person would have probably left halfway through my reasoning or stay to the end just to punch me in the mouth, which, to be fair, they would have every right to do. If in 200 years someone comes across this podcast, they will either say that I should have either been put in a straitjacket because the signs were there, or why didn't they give this bloke a Nobel Prize for awesomeness? Hey, fuck it, it's 2024. If they can have TikTok awards or give MBEs to female goalkeepers that have won fuck all, then I can have a Nobel for being awesome. Those people, when they find this podcast in 200 years, they will say Elon, Tesla, Einstein, Leonardo, not DiCaprio, the other one, they were fucking janitors compared to this dude. Wise old man, he was right. Well, he wasn't wrong. Whew. Time to explain myself, I think, and try not to laugh. Now, if you are an avid listener of the Let's Be Honest podcast, you'll be more than aware that I do tend to kick the shit out of the hokey-cokey woke people, Gen Z, and the newer end of the millennial moaning entitled troop. So it may come as a surprise to you to hear me championing the next generation that comes through. I know, it's a shock for me too. Question, going back to the New Year's resolution thing, do you ever just say, God, you know what, I just really need a good year this year, and then I'll be on my way? Of course you do, why wouldn't you? Now, at the beginning of this episode, I did say that I have hope, not faith. Two very different things for me. I'm pretty sure we have our own interpretations of the word, but having faith means I believe I can do it and it will happen. Hope is more, well, it would be lovely, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And to be honest, I'm a bit worried. Yeah, it's definitely hope, maybe with the slightest sprinkling of faith, because at the end of the day, I am an optimist, no matter how disgruntled. Well, but you hate Gen Z. You're always taking the piss out of us. Why do you think that we can save the world? Well, firstly, unless you are American, it's Gen Z, not Z. And yes, I am always taking the piss, and quite rightly so in my opinion. That's not going to change. However, I will say today that it's not your fault. Anybody detecting any, sarcasm in me continually saying it's not your fault? Well, you shouldn't, because there isn't any. As mentioned, not today. So, seeing as we're here and we're just chatting away, why don't we talk about my hope? My hope is that Gen Z will just one day, hopefully very, very soon, just wake up. And it might only take one of them to make the difference that we're all looking for. Let's take one tiny example that could be huge. It's a person. And if you know me, a very unlikely candidate. Time Person of the Year, global superstar, Ms. Taylor Swift. I have no clue why I said it like that. She right there could influence a phenomenal, a stupid, mind-blowing amount of people. Now, Miss Swift, instead of going to a New York event for Gaza, although I'm not sure why she was even going to that. I didn't even know she liked football. By the way, it's pronounced Gaza, love. Sorry, that was a cheap gag that only British people are going to get. Now she, the Swift one, could use her platform right at this moment in time, because this is potentially a huge moment in time. Right now, she has never been bigger. Right now, no pop star or movie star for years has been this big. I mean, I'm not saying I like her, that's irrelevant, but I could love her. As I suggested, you may laugh, and this is pretty basic. For a start, she could say, stay in school. The opposite of the Swedish climate devil girl hobbit, who, as we all know, did say, why stay in school? You don't learn anything. I love IKEA. I know she didn't say that last bit, but I think she probably does. By the way, Greta, and I'm going off in one here, I say, fuck the planet. The planet, the world, will be just fine. It will regenerate. People might not, but whose fault's that? Oh yes, it's ours. Now if the Swift one said to her millions of young followers, stay in school, learn things, respect your teacher, and trust me, you don't know everything. Also, respect your parents, you only get one set. Well, unless you are called Sparrow or Wind and you are part of a modern new age 6-parent fucking family. If she said, don't spend all your day on Facebook, Insta and TikTok just to get likes, blah, 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 do something constructive. Not only would every fucking parent in the world love her, kids that are easily influenced, which let's face it, is most of them, will follow her. She wouldn't be Person of the Year. She would be Person of the Century. The Century. Look, the Swift one, she is just as important as, I don't know, Martin Luther King. Oh, that's going to upset some people. Who's Martin Luther King? Okay, it may not upset everybody. Hang on. Oh, yes, I know who that is. Gosh, that's so offensive. I stand with black people. Okay, cool, and we're back. Am I being totally ridiculous? Have I been drinking? Maybe, and almost certainly, yes. Cheers again. Oh, yummy. The I Have a Dream speech in 1963 has quite rightly gone down in history as one of the greatest speeches. It reached hundreds of thousands of people, but has affected millions since it was uttered and continues to do so to this day. What if Tay-Tay said to her millions, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions, I also have a dream, etc., etc. Are you telling me that that speech will not influence a generation? It would not only influence a generation, it would be more than appreciated by other generations. You know what? If it gets the job done, do we really give a fuck if it's a Baptist activist minister or a teeny-weeny pop star? Who cares? What we need is a generation of people with morals and integrity to pass on to the alphas and then the betas. Don't you think? Let's be honest, the generations mentioned today are not listening to their parents, and they are almost certainly not listening to the Gen X and the Boomer type folks. What they will listen to is their own, the Taylors of this world. Their own type, well, they can manipulate or they can save. I wonder which one it will be. She, the swift one, in this moment, could be enormous, but she needs to strike. Because in a year or so, those kids that love her now, well, they won't even remember her name anymore. Maybe not realistic, but it's quite a nice thought, isn't it? Of course, we can't just rely on one person. You know, we all have to do our bit. Doesn't matter what generation you're from. It's funny, I was watching that super monk bloke the other day. What's his name? Jay Shetty, you know, the monk to the stars. And he was talking about self-love, you know, all that bollocks. Now, he said that when something positive or good happens, to write it down, put it on some paper, and then put that paper in a jar. Then at the end of the week, empty that jar. Look at the paper and see all the good, all the positivity. Just imagine how you'll feel. Fuck off. What am I, 12? Also, to be honest, I only watched the first half of his soppy video, so I could be wrong where he went with it, but I doubt I'm wrong. It was all a bit, you know, light a candle, fluffy nonsense, get in touch with yourself. Just a question. How is that helping anybody other than you? How about this as a crazy alternative? Go out and just do one nice thing. That's it. Don't write it down. Don't make a video. Don't do a dance. Just walk around with your eyes open and do something nice. Maybe for another human being. Fuck. Am I going to suck my own dick for a second and tell you a small story? Yes. Yes, I jolly well am. Why? Well, because I can't just say, you should do, if I don't do myself, can I? So, an example needed, I feel. Now, just before Christmas, it might have actually been Christmas Eve, I developed what turned out to be a chest infection. Wise, are you okay? I'm fine, thanks for asking. I booked at the doctor's for 9:30 a.m. So 10:30 comes along and I'm still sitting there. So I went to see the receptionist and I said, you know, what's the deal? I know you're very busy, but... She said, your doctor hasn't come in yet. Interesting. She then went on to say, you can either come back at 3 or wait another hour. Now, I wasn't that happy with my options, but I chose the hour. Now, I could have kicked off, and I think I would have been well within my rights to do so, but I could see what a shiter this lady was having. So I went and sat back down. I finished watching Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which was on the TV, and then I went to see the useless fuck of a doctor for about 4 minutes, who then gave me an expensive prescription. So not an overly successful or productive morning, I think. Now that might not sound like a mind-blowing story to you, but when I left on that Christmas Eve, not feeling very well to be honest, and having sat there for the whole length and more of a Harry fucking Potter film, I went straight up to the supermarket and I bought the receptionist a box of chocolates. I returned, gave them to her, and said, have a better day, and maybe drink some tequila when you go home. It was like I'd given this lady $1 million. She actually cried. After all, she's a girl. And then I just went on my way. Who knows? Maybe she cried because she doesn't like dark chocolates. Now, what did we learn there? Well, I think we learned that it's not about ourselves. I think we also learned that buying that box of chocolates is a far better act than writing your emotions down on a piece of paper to drool over at the end of the week. Can you imagine the conversation that woman had with her father or friend or whatever when she went home that night? Pretty fucking cool. Actually, going back to Taylor Swift for a minute, and just before I pat myself on the back too much, I would even do a trade-off with her. How about this? the swift one. For every 100 kids you influence, in the correct way, I, as a grown-up person, will buy one of your albums. And not only buy it, but I will listen to it. Oh God, yeah, I know. I actually just threw up a bit. Oh, I don't remember eating that. Now I say, if every grown-up bloke did that, that would be our contribution to saving the planet. You're welcome. So Greta, again, take your carbon footprint, shove it up your arse. I'm going to buy Taylor Swift records. That's not a fair trade-off. Oh, but it is. Have you heard the music? I think everybody wins. Ish. I'm prepared to do that for mankind. Again, you're welcome. Maybe that's why they call it mankind. Again, you're most welcome. What's your suggestion to saving the world, by the way? Oh, you're going on a march? Oh, that's nice. Yeah, well, maybe somebody rich like Elon should give, $1,000 to 1 million poor people and he would still have so much money left over. That's my solution. Genius. I actually watched a young girl say that the other day. Fucking brilliant. You know what I say to that? I say, fuck the poor. It doesn't work that way, love. I remember somebody wonderful once said, the best thing that you can do for the poor is not be one of them. Giving the poor opportunities and giving them money are two different things. Maybe if we start acting differently as people, that will change a culture. That's how we make a difference, not by giving handouts. Anyway, fuck it. When this downtrodden, hokey-cokey woke girl said, give money to the poor, I think she actually meant herself, or some other person with pink hair. I would love to see her face if, let's say Elon said, yes, I'm going to do that. What a great suggestion. Then gave the money to an African village or a slum in India. There is poor that have no fucking hope, and then there is poor that just want a handout. That whinge was brought to you by another wise old man soapbox moment. Sorry. I don't expect you to agree, but yeah, fuck the poor, fuck the planet. If you like math, here's an equation for you. If 5 billion people did one less arsehole thing a day and one new good thing, then the world would instantaneously be a better place. Argue with that, fucko. I am swearing a lot today, aren't I? Sorry if that offends. Not that sorry. Anyway, going back to the Zeds and the millennial types that blame, I don't mean they will stop or should stop blaming the older generation. Fuck it. They will always do that. I think that's fairly natural. Just like the Zeds will blame the older millennials, and at some point the alphas will blame the Zeds. And as always, so the world turns. I'm talking about the Zeds and some of the Ys realising that they are being manipulated. Not by Gen Z, not by the boomers, but by their own people. Their own people know what makes them tick or talk better than anybody. Now, for me, there is no doubt that kids are more aware at 19 than any other generation of 19-year-olds before. Super. But they are only aware because of the information that they have at their fingertips. They're not smarter. I think we're smarter. No, you just have more information. Do you think this generation is going to create another Shakespeare, another Michelangelo? Where do you see the next hero that will be talked about in hundreds of years coming from? The Zeds complain and they march along talking about all the bad things that Gen X and the boomers and the silent generation did. Yeah, we did some things. We fucked up some shit. No doubt about it. We also created some fucking awesome things. Things that the Zeds and the Alphas, take advantage of every single day. You don't whinge about those things, do you? You just cherry pick. Fuckers. Yes, the Zeds and the millennials are richer than ever before. Richer doesn't particularly mean smarter or more successful, though, does it? You can blow something up, comment on something from your bedroom, do a dance, or just get your tits out and make more money than a lawyer or a doctor. Does that mean you are more successful? Maybe to the new generation. Yeah, maybe it does. Just imagine for a second if you didn't have the internet or mobile phones. I know, it seems like the dark ages, but it was only, 50 years ago when we used to use a pen and paper. Let's take the good technology away from you. How are you coping? Are you still going to create a company, build an empire? See, I don't think you are. You do now because you have the tools. Certainly if you are a Z, you are born into technology. So I'll say it again, and I will keep coming back to it and, explain at some point. It's not your fault, but it is your fault if you do nothing about it. As mentioned, this is the age that you were born into, but you are being manipulated. And of course, it's not your fault. The Zs and the arse end of the millennials could actually be the first generation in history to get it right. I know that they think they know everything already, but they don't. They can't. It's impossible. Every generation before them thought they knew more than the one before. But we, as older people, know that that's bollocks. But you only know that when you have the gift of looking back. Zs have nothing to look back on yet they seem to know everything. Maybe if we, as the older generation, or more to the point you as the younger generation, carry on the way that you are carrying on, there'll be nothing to look back on. Could people like the Swift one really influence? Could this generation that we call Z be the greatest ever? Could they show Gen X how it's done? Could they show the entitled millennials how it's done? And could they pass on all that knowledge to the alphas coming through, who will then, hopefully, pass it on to the betas? As I say, certain groups harp on about saving the planet. My question is, are you that selfless that you think of the planet before you think of yourself? Because if you are, I haven't really seen that much evidence of it. I truly don't think that there's ever been a generation that is less accountable than the main two that I've talked about today. But still, it's not your fault. You know what? I could easily have a go at working out what I think all the generations that are coming should do. But why don't I let them speak for themselves? Maybe they should answer. So, next time on Let's Be Honest and episode 2 of A New Hope, I welcome you to enjoy the game show for the whole family, and one that will determine the planet's fate. That's right, it's the show that absolutely nobody's talking about, called It's Not Your Fault. Gen Z, this is your time. As always, at the end of every episode, firstly, I'm losing my marbles, and secondly, thank you to all you lovely people that take the time to listen. That was a little heavy in parts and a little sweary, but hey, it's all from a place of hope. As always as well, if you would, please jump on the YouTube channel at @WiseOldman, using the @ subscribe, leave a comment, or perhaps ask a question that's been bothering you. I will attempt to make my answer a wise one. So until next time, don't just sit in your room and write your emotions in a diary. Why? Well, because it's not the late 1700s or a Jane Austen novel. Go out and do a good deed, no matter how small. Maybe even share it on TikTok. No dancing though. Have a great week.